Hello guys, now we are in the sixth game in the Sokolov's Masterpieces series, and the game is a Grunfeld Defence. This was played between Sokolov and Olafsen, and the game goes d4, knight f6, c4 g6, knight c3 d5, c d5, knight takes d5, and e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, and c5. For some reason, black deviates from the standard move bishop g7. Now bishop b5 check and knight c6. And the alternative bishop to d7 and then bishop to e2 and bishop to g7 and knight to f3, transposing to a line that is considered to be better for white here. And then in the game knight c6 was played, and then d5, a6, bishop e2, black would be okay in the event of bishop a4 and b5. So then now after bishop e2, knight to a5, bishop e3, e6. Black takes the rather risky decision to open the e file before securing his king. However, white would have a pleasant advantage after if at all bishop g7 is played, then rook to c1 and then b6 and then c4 and then short castles and then h4. So here white would be better. So in the game e6 is played and then knight f3. Here c4 is also good. E takes d5, e takes d5 and b6, castle shot, bishop to g7. Now queen a4 check. This forces an ending that is very favorable for white, and now bishop d7, queen e4 check, queen e7, queen takes e7, king takes e7, and rook a b1 and bishop b5. And this move is a good decision. After the exchange on b5, black will get the c4 square for his knight and activate the a8 rook. And here rook hb8 is bad because of bishop to f4 and then rook b7 and then d6 check, king to f8 and knight to e5 is coming. So bishop b5 was good decision. After bishop takes b5, a takes b5, rook takes b5. Now knight c4, knight d2. This powerful black knight must be eliminated at once. And after knight takes d2, here even knight takes e3 and f takes e3 would be also be better position for white. Now bishop takes d2 and rook takes a2, bishop g5 check, king d6, c4, rook b8, rook fb1 and king d7, and now bishop f4, rook b7, king bishop e3, bishop d4, bishop takes, c takes, now c5, now c6 is the threat, This was the point behind white inserting bishop f4. Now rook c7, cb6, rook b7, g4, king d6, and then rook 1 b3, rook c2, king f1, and rook to c5. In order to capture the d5 pawn, black has to exchange his active rook. If he delays doing so, then white will play the rather unpleasant g5 with rook f3 and f6 to follow. King e2, king takes d5, king d3, rook takes b5, rook takes b5, king c6, king rook b2, king c5. Here if at all rook takes b6, then rook takes b6, king takes b6, then king takes d4, king c6, king to e5. Here so the black's pawn ending is lost here. So if at all this is played, and then king g7 comes, so he will lose the pawn. So black will lose here. So then after rook b2, king c5, g5, king d5, h3, king c5, h4, king d5, rook b4, king c5, rook c4 check, king b5, and rook c1. Here then rook king b4, then king takes d4 is coming. If at all this, then rook check, rook b1 check is coming, and then the same thing repeats again. So here once again black is lost. So black resigned here. So guys, I think that it would have been a very illustrative game for you. I will be meeting you in the next 7th game. So thank you all.